Welcome to Unit 3 of the Real Shanghai Mathematics Practice Book 1.1. As mentioned previously, you would require the book to go through this material. This particular unit is split into 8 sections, and we go through each one of them, but we're not going to be able to go through every single question due to copyright issues. As mentioned before, you will require to purchase the book. Secondly, just a reminder that the lessons with your child should be short, around 30 minutes, but done frequently. So the purpose is certainly not that during this around 15 to 20 minutes video that your child is going to be able to go through all of this material. Or rather, it will take your child quite a while to do it, and depending on the material, they may spend half an hour going to 2, 3, maybe even 4 pages, but nothing more than that. And so don't expect them to be going through it very quickly, and it's more about making it reasonably enjoyable and building their confidence and them getting better at the material. And so starting off with unit 3, as I said, which is labeled as numbers 0 to 20 and the addition and subtraction. So we've just covered 0 to 10, and now it's moving on to the next one, which is 11 to 20. As I mentioned before, generally speaking, fingers can be used to count and should be encouraged if that's required. That's not an issue. This is about counting, really. Later on, they can get better into putting them into groups, and if their child is confident and develops their own strategy, as long as they're able to answer the question consistently, getting it right and fairly quickly, then generally it's a good technique that they're using. So moving on to the first part, which is labeled as numbers 11 to 20, and it mentions about circling groups of 10, count and match. Again, a very, very important concept, similar to numbers 1 to 10, is that being able to circle to 10 and getting the relationship between the tens and units, and this is like an introduction to that. So the first one has been done in terms of number 12, so you circle 10, and there's 2 more, and that'd be 11 12s. And the same needs to be done for the others, where they circle the objects. And the way they've set them out is that you should be able to fairly easily be able to circle 10. So rather than counting downwards, they should be counting across just to see the easier way to get number 10. Again, here, get to number 10, and so on and so forth. And then moving on to 1B, again, very similar to that in terms of how to do it. And again, in B, you can see a little bit of the better way would be to circle it downwards this way to get the 10. But if your child doesn't do that and they go across that and they put the other one in there, it's not an issue as long as they're getting it right. But rather than saying it's incorrect, you just show that this was another way they could have done, and may have saved them some time in terms of doing it. But it's not an issue. The main thing is getting good at counting and seeing and getting familiar with numbers 11 to 20. That's the real purpose of this particular topic, numbers 11 to 20. And then moving on to the next page, which is page 42. This is the second part, and it's labeled as tens and ones. Tens and ones, and this is what we've talked about before. The relationship between these numbers is introducing to tens and the ones units. So here again, circling them into tens, and then there's 3 left over. So 13 is the same as 10 plus 3. 10 is your tens, and then the 3 is obviously your units. Again, don't get too fixated in terms of using the correct terms. It's more about being able to answer the question. So again, should be straightforward. And then you got a bit of question 2 around calculating. Again, should be straightforward. Your child should be comfortable in adding from here, and if they're using their fingers, it's not a problem. So I guess the way to count this would be is if you're doing first one 10 plus 2, is that they should start off 10 in their head and then 11 12 with their 2 fingers. So that's how to count if they want to utilize that. And if they're comfortable with the numbers and they can do it straight away, then that's even better. Another tip is for 7 plus 10, just remind your child that they can 7 plus 10 is the same as 10 plus 7, so they should in their head at least turn it around so it makes it easier for them to add. So 10 plus 7 is easier to add than 7 plus 10, and so that's the way they should do that. And there's a combination of calculating and takeawaying, and again, takeawaying with your fingers should be straightforward in terms of in terms of counting, but your child again needs to be comfortable in terms of counting backwards. And if they are struggling with that, then practice with that. Any of these kind of skills in terms of counting, if they are struggling with any of those kind of things, they should be very good at these. And the way to get very good at these is to do it on a regular basis, every day, perhaps 2 or 3 times a day, and they should get very comfortable through repetition. Moving on to question 3, write the numbers in the table. So that the first one has been done, which is 12. And again, it's just a relationship between tens and ones. So the first digit of these 2-digit numbers are the tens, and the second digit are the ones. So it gets them familiar with these. So tens, for 12, there's 1 and 2 there, and for 17, it'll be 1 and 7, and so on and so forth. And then moving on to the next one, it is fill in the missing numbers. 1, 10, and 3 ones makes how much? So it'd be 13, 1, 3. And again, just getting them familiar with these digits. If there are any that you getting stuck with or it's confusing, then please do let me know. But your child should be familiar with this, and knowing tens and ones is very important. So it's something that they should be familiar with. And again, there's plenty of practice here, so that they get good at it. The 4E, there are how many tens in 20, and there are how many ones in 20. So there'll be 2 tens in 10, 20, and there are 0 ones in 20. So again, be familiar with the term 0. 0 is very important, and there's a situation in which this is being utilized, just in case the child is getting confused, as nothing in the 0 is nothing, but you can't write it down. Moving on to the next bit, which is ordering numbers up to 20. Again, as I say, I do like real Shanghai Mathematics in terms of how they build it up very step by step, and hopefully your child gets comfortable with these. If they are struggling and you feel that they require more practice, then let me know, and then I can look at whether there's further material, which there will be, but I can then try and locate them and post them in a comment if that's appropriate, or perhaps do another shorter video to show you where there's further material. But generally speaking, your child should be very comfortable with this, particularly if they're going to school, because they'll be a lot of repetition there. If your child isn't going to school and doing homeschooling, then it should still be enough, but they may require additional material. But it's difficult for me to say because my children have been going to school, so I can only really relate to them in terms of the material that's been going through. So again, ordering numbers up to 20, count and match. First one has been done, 3, and so on and so forth. So it's about counting, and again, drawing around 10, which helps in terms of counting and also helps in terms of accuracy, because as you can imagine, when you're counting large numbers, you can often make a mistake and putting it to a group, and a group of 10 is a very good skill to have and will help with that. And the number 2 is just about joining, and you're joining the numbers, join the points in the order of the numbers marked on the number line. So you start off with 0, then you move to 2, then 4, and this is referring to the number line where you can see that they are even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, and this is the way to do it. And then you'll get a particular shape, and the shape should be a star. And 45, again, be similar to that, but this time around they're going with the odd numbers, and 1, 3, 5, and so on and so forth, and there should be straight lines for that, and then you should get a shape. Shape looks like a crown. And then moving on to 3, write greater than, equal, or less than in each box, and this is something we've covered before, and just a very quick reminder in terms of this, because it is very important. So this is equals when the lines are the same. So this number here and this number here should be the same. And then when you have something like this, the gap between here is large, big, and that's why the bigger number goes here, and these 2 points have come together here, and so the smaller number goes there. But we read from this side, so this would be this number is less than this number, and then we have the other way around. And again, the very important skill, and they should be familiar with this, is the gap between here is the bigger one, and that's why this is the bigger number and this is the smaller one. And I think that's far more important than being able to read it correctly. But obviously reading is also important. But in terms of the questions, it's just about putting the right symbols there, and that would be question 3 in 45. And again, don't forget the equals one. So are there any equal ones there? Yeah, 16 and 16. So make sure you do put the equal where it's appropriate. Moving on to the next topic, which is question referred to as for addition and subtraction. So just more practice, and this is another reason why I really do like Shanghai Mathematics. There is plenty of practice, and materials are built upon each other, and so your child shouldn't really be struggling. They should be able to getting familiar with it and getting better. Again, your child, even like yourselves, you may occasionally make a mistake, but the accuracy should be getting better. If it takes them a little while because they need to use their fingers, that's not an issue at this moment. I think with time they will get confidence with the questions and may even themselves stop using their fingers when they're confident that they know the answer, and that 6 plus 2 is always 8, and therefore they don't need to use their fingers. And these kind of additions come again and again, and then the subtractions there as well, and fill in the missing numbers, which is question 2, and you can follow the pattern as well, and you can see the pattern there. So the first one is 3 plus 4 equals obviously 7, and then the bottom one has a 13 plus 4. So just showing him the 13 plus 4, the ones will still be a 7 there, and because you've got a 1 in the tens for the 13, there'll be 17 there, and then you can follow the pattern. So for the 2 plus 7 below that would be the 12 plus 7, and 4 plus 6, the pattern below that would be 14 plus 6, and so on and so forth. And the same with the subtractions. So for the next one, it'll be 17 minus 4, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the fifth one, adding by making 10 first. So we've talked about this before. Question 1, draw lines to join pairs of numbers in circle and triangle that makes 10. A very important skill. I've mentioned it probably several times now in terms of number bonds. So this is another way of demonstrating number bonds, and extremely important. So 4 will be connected to the 6, and so you draw a line between that circle and the triangle, and so on and so forth. And then it moves on to fill in the missing numbers. 8 plus 4, what that is, but below that it shows you the step, and this is really the advantage and why it's really important for your child to be able to do bonds to 10, and they should be getting to a stage now where they are not requiring their fingers to be able to do the number bonds. So when you're doing practicing, if they need practice, do practice with them in terms of saying the number 8, and they should be saying 2. When you're doing number bonds of 10 and you say 0, they say 10, you say 3, they say 7, and so on and so forth. So they get very comfortable with that because it's a very important step, and this is demonstrated here. So the way to do 8 plus 4 or 2 digits with the addition, with the total, is going to be more from the single digits moving to this 2 digits numbers. Then you do need to first do a first step where you take it to a 10. So 8 plus 4, the 2 steps is first you do 8 plus 2, which equals 10, and then you've got 2 more to add on, and so it'll be 10 plus 2, which equals 12. And this is what they need to get very familiar with, and then hopefully over time they'll be able to do all of that in their head. But this is the best way to do it, and they're showing you again 7 plus 8. The step to do it is 7 plus 3 equals 10, and then the step below that would be 10 plus 5 equals 15. And this is where they need to get very familiar with the number bonds to 10. And also you can see the other bonds are also important because they need to know that 8 can be split up into 3 plus 5. And as I say, get them to a stage where they should be getting to a stage where they are not using their fingers, particularly with numbers to 10, bonds to 10, because they occur again and again. If the other ones, they still need to use their fingers at this stage, I don't think that's an issue. But later on with the bigger numbers, they will be getting to a stage where they shouldn't be requiring to use their fingers, and I'll probably mention it when that's the case. But if they are not using their fingers now, that's great. But if they still need to use their fingers, and not an issue at the moment. Moving on to the next question, calculate using your preferred method. So there are different methods individuals could use, but I would suggest again number bonds. Go with this number bonds. So in your head, 3 plus 9 should be 3 plus 7, and then after that plus 2. Okay, or if they want to flip it around the other way around, 9 plus 3, so that's 9 plus 1 plus 2, that should be 12, and so on and so forth. Sometimes children are very familiar with double numbers. If they know that, then there's no point doing the number bonds for that. 7 plus 7, if people are very familiar with the 2 times table, or later on they are familiar with the 2 times table, then they can use that method. That's not an issue. The main issue is being able to do a method that is fairly quick and quite accurate as well. Moving on to describe each picture. So they're showing you 5 and how many are in the outside, and these are numbers that total will be more than 10, so they need to do 2-step methods by saying these are 2 steps that they need to do in their head. If your child needs to write on a piece of paper next to that to do, for example, because they're struggling, they need to write, in this case, what is it, 5 plus 8? Yeah, 5 plus 8. So if they need to write 5 plus 8 equals 5 plus 5 plus 3, not a problem at this stage. The main thing is about getting that pattern, about getting hopefully to a stage where they can start doing this in their head. And then, as you can see with the calculations, there's plenty of practice for these to be able to do this. And then moving on to question 7, again, similar thing, and calculate question 8. Again, there to just get the child to be familiar with these additions, and then match the pairs of numbers in the vase. The first one has been done for you. So 2 plus 12 is 14, 7 plus 7 is 14, 4 plus 10 is 14, and so on and so forth. And then the next one is 15. And then question 10, calculate and put each number sentence in the correct house. So you can see 6 plus 8 is 14, and so that's why you write that one in there. 9 plus 7 is 16, so that'll be written in the house of 9 plus 7, and so on and so forth. So it's another thing I like about these books is the way they've set it out. There's not too much stuff to do, and they put in a variety of different ways to try and make it as interesting as it is, because it can be quite boring just doing calculations over calculations. Number 11, fill in the missing numbers, addend, and then the sum. This is where I think, particularly with the real Shanghai Mathematics, we don't need to get fixated on particular terms, because added isn't really used, particularly when our overall focus is GCSE Mathematics. So in this case, just tell them these are the 2 numbers that need to be added together. What is important is they're familiar with terms like sum. Sum is a term that comes again and again, so they need to be familiar with that. So 3 plus 8 equals 11. And 7 plus 5, whatever that is, and just be familiar with the terms, what sum means. Again, if they can't remember it, I don't think there's much of an issue with that, because these terms will come again and again, so they'll get familiar with it. And then question 12, again, in terms of reading, the word calculate has come so many times, they should be familiar with it. And then 5 plus 6 equals how to do that. Again, 5 plus 5 plus 1, this is the way to do it. And if your child is so comfortable with numbers, they can know it straight away. Again, not an issue. The main issue is about getting it accurate and getting it right. If this child is getting it wrong, then they should be taking a step back and then doing it 5 plus 5 plus 1. If they are very comfortable with numbers, 8 plus 5, and they know it straight away, and they keep getting it right, again, not an issue. The main issue with maths is practical element of it in terms of getting things right, rather than just repetition and things being very slow or taking a long time. Just being very familiar with numbers and how to manipulate numbers and what to do with them. Question 13, describe the pictures, how many cups there are. So here, how many cups there are. So this will be an addition. How many leaves there are, again, addition of those 2 together. For the other one at the start, there were 7 fish, and the 7 fish arrived. So again, for these, I would recommend, if child is struggling, to say, okay, so if 7 more fishes arrive, are the numbers going to be more or less? If it's more, then it should be addition. If it's going to be less, it'll be subtraction, take away. And moving on to page 52, fill in the missing numbers. 15, take away 7. So again, this should be number bonds method. So it's 15, take away 5 first. How many more do we need to take away? Take away 2. And then they should be getting to a state, because they're always taking it down to the 10, that they don't need to go back and think, oh, 15 take away 5, how much was that? No, you've already done that. So the beauty of this method is that because we're always taking 10, in their mind, they should just be thinking of the number bond from 10 and 7. So 10 take away 7, well, what number added to 7 gets you to 10? Well, that's the number 3, and so on and so forth. Again, 12 take away 6, if you're familiar with doubles, it's not an issue. And they do actually show you the steps. So do the steps first, and then go back and you can write the answers at the top. So again, 15 take away 7, you can just do the step 1 and step 2, and then once you've got the answer, you can go all the way back. But they're showing you the steps, so they're doing similar to what they were done in terms of the addition, step by step. Fill in the number setters using your preferred method, and as I say, this is the method that you should use in terms of taking it down to your tens. But that's the other thing with real Shanghai Mathematics, which I do also like. If a child has a particular method that they're very comfortable with, and just that's the way their mind works, and they're very comfortable with, and they're getting it right, and it's quick for them, and that's fine. That's not an issue. Moving on to question 4, 11 take away 3. Again, it'll be 11 take away 1, take away 2. And again, if your child needs to write at the top, because it's particularly at this stage, because it's new to them, 11 take away 1, take away 2, not a problem. The thing to remember is that they then, once they've written 11 take away 1, already in their mind, the 10 should be there, and then they don't need to keep the 11 take away 1 in their head. They could even, if you want to, just cross that out and just put 10 at the top. So 11 take away 1, take away 2, and then 11 take away 1, they should already know in their head is 10, and then 10 take away 2 is 8. We always take it down to the 10, and that's why it quickens it up in terms of the calculations. And then you got calculations, as you can see, and if your child notices a pattern and goes with that, not an issue, as long as they are being correct and they can notice the pattern themselves, and that's the method they choose to do. Or they may not do it that way and then later on realize the pattern. The pattern could be going down the column method or down across the row, whichever way they wish to do it. Question number 6. Describe each picture, write the number centers and calculate the answer. So these are taken away, so they made it clear. So you need to start off with the total amount of flowers and then how many have been taken away. And then fill in the missing numbers. 11 take away 8 equals so-and-so. That's why you write the top bit there. 15 take away 8 will be the next one. 13 take away 8 will be the next one, and so on and so forth. With that, and 5 plus 9, and that's the answer to the top one. 5 plus 5, the answer, and 5 plus 7, and so on and so forth. So that's how they framed those ones for question 7, filling the missing numbers. And again, 12 take away 7, then you write the answer to the top one. 10 take away 7, write the answer. 16 take away 7, write the answer there, and so on and so forth. And then 8, calculate. So more calculations, more practice. Number 9, fill in the missing numbers. Getting familiar with a different way of doing things where they put arrows in, but it's the same principle. So 13 take away 5, what does that give you? And then whatever that number is, we're going to add 4 to that, and then that answer we take away 2 to that, and then what answer that get, we plus 9 to that, and so on and so forth to get a final answer. Number 10, describe each picture, write the number centers and calculate the answer. So getting familiar with what we see and putting that into a question. So 11 is the total amount. Takeaway, so I assume the takeaway number would be the ones which are no longer standing, so the horizontal one. Take away that, and that will give you the picture of the lights that are the lights that are on, which are still up, and I assume the side ones are broken. And then the candles, again, total candles. Take away the candles that have been blown out. Question 11, match and the calculation with the same answers. So you need to work out the answers for each one, and then once you know the answers, you can match them. For example, 13 take away 6, that's 13 take away 3, and then take away 3 again, so that's 10 take away 3, which is 7, and 11 take away 4, that's 11 take away 1, take away 3, which again be 7, and they match together. And when you get very good with your number bonds to 10, then you should know when you're saying, by the time you're saying 11 take away 1, take away 3, so not saying take away 3, you should already know, because your number bonds down is going to be 7, because 7 and 3 make 10. And fill in the missing numbers for question 12. Again, it should be straightforward. If your child is struggling in terms of what number do I add to get 11, so you can start up with 7, what number you take that to 10, so we need a 3 there and then another 1. Or if your child is struggling with that kind of concept and they need to do a takeaway, the way to do it will be, okay, so we've got 11 equals 11, the answer, will that be bigger than 11 or smaller than 11? It's going to be smaller than 11. Well, if it's going to be smaller than 11, then from the 11 we're going to have to take away the 7, and so on and so forth. There are different ways of doing it, what you're comfortable with. Generally speaking, I think the best way to do it is 9 plus what number? So let's take it to a 10. So how much do we need to add? We need to add 1, that takes it to 10. How much more do we need to add? Well, there's only 6 ones left, so it needs to be 1 more. So 1 plus 6 is 7. And so on and so forth. And then 13, how many children were left on the bus? If there were 11 at the start, and you can see 3 coming off there, so it's just getting familiar with more subtractions. There are 13 vegetables totals. How many are there in the basket? Yeah, so you're just getting familiar with subtractions here. And then moving on to question section 6, which is describe and calculate. Again, giving you more practice and trying to combine the information. So how many apples are there in total? So total, getting you familiar with what that means, and that's an addition. You add things together. Total, how many birds are left, or how many birds flew away. So how many birds flew away. So you have to start off with the total amount of the birds, and then take away how many are left on the tree, and so on and so forth. Question 2, make up questions and write the number sentences. There are 16 children on the bus, and then 7 children got off, and then you need to write the answer. So in this case, what they mean is you write the number sentence. So you write 16, take away 7, equals, and they work that out. Okay, and similar for the other one. So just translating what you've read into something that can be written down and then answered. Number 3, write number sentences and calculate the answer. And then again, 3a, similar to that. So 10. So the girl has 10 books. Uh, the boy has as many as the girl. How many do they have in total? So it's step by step. So girl has 10, boy has as many as the girl. So you have to think, okay, so if boy has as many as girl, how many books will he have? Well, girl has 10, so as many means the same. So that girl will have 10. So there's 10, 10. How do we do that then? 10 plus 10 equals, and so on and so forth. So sometimes with these, there are sort of two stages, and very important to be able to understand the questions. There were 8 birds, some more birds arrived, so 8 plus how many? You could put 8 plus $8 equals, now there are 12, so it equals 12. So how would you do that? Well, how do you get from 8 to 12? We add 2 to 10 and then another 2, so that means 8 plus 4 equals 12, and so the answer would be 12. Or we can do the other way around, where you can say there are 12 in total. There were 8 at the beginning, so it's 12 take away 8 equals. So whichever the way, the point is getting the right answer. That's the important thing. And then moving on to the 7th part, and then there's only one more after this, adding and taking away. So this is a combination of both, 5 plus, and then however many are in the other one. And it will give you, in this case, there's 8 in the other one, 5 plus 8. How much is that? 5 plus 5 plus 3 equals 13. And then you got reminding you that from there you can get also other questions in terms of calculation that we could do. And for this case, we'll do the total, which is 13. Take away, and you can take away 5 equals 8, or you can do 13 take away 8 equals 5. Again, just getting child familiar with it. Either way is right. There's no right or wrong in that particular answer. You can choose either one of these. And then similar for the other one as well. Fill in the missing numbers. Again, should be straightforward. Again, more practice. 9 plus 7, 9 plus 1 plus 6. This is what they should be doing in their head. If they're struggling in their head, then let them write it down, but this is what they should be doing. And with this time, they should hopefully get to a stage where they're no longer requiring their fingers, because they're getting very comfortable with the numbers. And just encourage them. If they are making mistakes, lots of mistakes, then you need to carry on. So it's not the right time for them to be able to do that. But if they are still struggling, you should be practicing number bonds with them. So for example, 10, we're doing number bonds for 10, so I'm going to give you number 5, and they should say 5, and then the other numbers as well if they're struggling with it. Okay, so now it's number bonds to 6. Okay, 0, they say 6, 5, 1, 3, 3, and so on and so forth. So getting very comfortable with these numbers, because these additions, the takeaways come again and again, and we start from there. The 6 plus 6 equals 12, and then so we can also do 12 take away 6 equals 6, and then 12 take away 7 equals a number, and that number plus, so in this case, with 12 take away 2 take away 5, which is 5. So then we can put below it 5 plus 7 equals 12. So just different ways of writing it, just showing you the relationship between subtraction and addition. And then question 3, make up questions and write the number sentences. It says make up questions, but the questions are done for you, which is good, because no point really wasting your time trying to make up questions. So to start, there were 11 playing on the grass. Now 4 of them have gone back home, so it'd be 11 take away 4, and work at that. And then moving on to the last one, which is the number wall, we will spend a little bit time on, because it is important that you show the child the correct method of doing this, otherwise you will get it wrong. Okay, so complete these number walls. So for the number walls, the first one's been done for you, so it's 4 plus 3 equals 7. So the important thing here is you need to do the questions, you need to do the boxes in the correct order. So there's no point doing this one, because for this one, the top one, you need to know what this answer is here, and we don't know what this is. This could be any number. So work from the bottom. 4 plus 3, 7. So we do this one, 3 plus 1 equals 4. Then you can do 7 plus 4 equals 11. Again, 7 plus 3 plus 1, if that's the way to do it. Again, if your child is very comfortable, they can do 7 plus 4 is 11, then not a problem. Again, don't start from the top one here. You're not going to be able to do it. Do these two first, and then these two first, and the numbers goes here, and the numbers can be, double digits like here. And then again, from the bottom here, a little bit trickier. We can work out what this one is, and we can also work out what this one is. But then from here, we need to start working downwards. So, across. So you can work out what this one is. One number, it goes here. So 7 plus 5 is 12. Here we know 2, 2. And then this one we know, because 4 plus 3. So we can do all of these ones. Then this one is done. And this one is done. Then you can do this one. So just make sure you go in the correct order, where you got 2 pieces of information and you're just missing one information. If there's 2 pieces of information missing, you're not going to be able to do the third one. Or if there's just a, for this one example, you need 2 pieces of information. If there's only 1 piece of information here, you're not going to be able to do that one. You need 2 pieces of information. Okay, and then the complete the number was for question 2 again. Again, the order is very important, and they're demonstrating there's a 19th at the top, 9, and then there's a 10 over there you need to write, and then you've got a 6 there, then you can put a 4 there. So the order is important, and so it's pretty much for that one you're going top to bottom. And then the next one, again, the order is very important, so do the correct order. Again, 2 pieces of information you can use to work it out, so the 4 and the 3, so you can do that one. And that gives you 1, and then when that piece is done, then you can do the next one. Again, 7 is there, 2 pieces of information is there, 7, 4, so we know the other one is 3, and so on and so forth. And then when you know the information, that will create 3, 3, 6, and so on and so forth, and then you can do the other one. So the stepwise order is very important for that. With that, I'll end this lesson. Please do like and subscribe, and please put comments and spread the word, as it'll be a good motivation for myself and to see if it's beneficial and worth the effort in terms of putting these together. Thank you.